Saturday morning to you. Welcome to Coach's Corner on this first Saturday of September on a beautiful late summer morning here, and hopefully you have a chance to get out on this Labor Day weekend. I hope you enjoy it and get out and have a chance to be part of it. Like I said, it looks like it's going to be a great weekend after the rain last night. It was a very difficult ride home last night, to be brutally honest with everybody. It was there was some very hard rain that we came through on the way home from Proctor last night, and I was mighty happy to make it home safely. Let's talk about last night. The Bronco football team did take to the road to play on the brand new artificial turf on Terry Agredal Field in Proctor. The Rails took advantage early. They scored on runs of 31-2 in the first three offensive plays of the game, and then on 41 yards in the first quarter, they added a 75-yard touchdown pass just 3 minutes into the second quarter, and they built a 27-0 lead. It would be that at halftime. About halfway through the third quarter, they'd get a 61-yard punt return for a touchdown, and the score after three quarters was 33-0 in favor of Proctor. The Broncos would then score three touchdowns in the fourth quarter. The first, a 33-yard jaunt by sophomore London Rasmussen with just under 8 minutes left. About 4 minutes later, junior Taylor Wilson went in from a yard out, and Armando Barrios did the same with 1 second left in the game, as the final score was 33-22, as the Broncos lose to Proctor for the 12th consecutive time. The Broncos have not beat Proctor since 2005. Barrios would end the game with 18 carries on 152 yards. Unofficially, very rough sketch on those yards last night. 14 carries in the second half for 140 yards. So Barrios had a big second half. And some people might say, well, it was against second and third stringers. Proctor's a very, very good football team. Their second and third string players are pretty good. And I think the Broncos showed something for themselves in the second half leading into next week's game against Aiken at home. And again, of course, that game starts at 7 o'clock. Speaking of Aiken, they were 12-6 losers to Barnum on Thursday night, so they're going to come into that game 0-1. So if you look at the section standings for the Broncos, and of course the section gets seeded by the QRF, and I know it's very early in the ball game, but just to go over the section standings for the Broncos, Virginia and Two Harbors tied atop the top of the section with 2-0 records. Proctor now 1-0. Esco 0-1 after they lost last night. Greenway 0-1 after they lost last night, and the Falls sits at 0-2. If you look at the Northeast Division District, I guess, conference is what it is. The old conference, now a district. Take the Virginia, Two Harbors, the Falls, and Greenway, and then you add in Evelyn Gilbert, who also lost last night, and we'll talk more about those scores in a second. But the start of the whole thing, start looking 6 teams in the section, 5 teams in the conference. The Little Fork Big Falls Vikings football team got their 2017 season started last night at home in a game against Carleton. The Bulldogs got a pair of touchdowns in each half to defeat the Vikings 28-0, and we'll hear a lot more about that game as Dave Westerman and a few players are going to be my guests here. Carter Longergren, Mason Borman, and Matt Kennedy will be our guests here, and we'll have a chance to chat more about that game in a few minutes. And other high school football games from last night. Two Harbors, as I mentioned, moved to 2-0. They defeat Duluth-Denfeld 41-14. Cook County 78, Onamia 0 in 9-man football. Just probably doesn't need to be that way, but sometimes games end up going that way. Warroad and Roseau played in an absolute monsoon last night, delayed by lightning, and then they went to overtime to boot, and Warroad wins 21-14 in overtime. Southridge 9-man over Isle 38-12. Cloquet all over Esco last night, 55-20. Hibbing over Evelyn Gilbert, 25-12. Deer River in a very low scoring game in Coleraine. Deer River gets a safety in the fourth quarter to defeat Greenway Nashua Keewatin 9-6. McGregor 50, Lake of the Woods 8. Renshaw shuts out Hill City Northland 48-0. And in a battle of maybe the Section 5 favorite in 9-man and the Section 7 favorite in 9-man, Cromwell right all over Northwoods 37-8. Couple scores from Thursday night. There were a lot of I think there were more Thursday night games than played Friday night games actually in this week one. As I mentioned, Barnum beat Aiken as the Gobblers come to town next week. The first time the Broncos and Aiken will play since 2004. Barnum beats Aiken 12-6. Virginia moves to 2-0, as I mentioned earlier. They defeat Mesabi East 35-8. Hermantown shut out Moose Lake Willow River 34-0 on Thursday. The Broncos play Moose Lake the following week in 2 weeks after after they play Aiken, and that game is down in Willow River, and we'll have that game for you, of course. And also on Thursday night, Morup defeats Grand Rapids 39-22. The Minnesota Twins last night were on the AM station, but they could not overcome a 5-run third inning by the Kansas City Royals. They got a pair of runs in the bottom of the ninth and left the bases loaded. We were listening on the way home. We were listening on the way home last night, and it was with great despair when Rosario struck out with the bases loaded, but the Twins lose by a final score of 7-6. They got those 2 runs in the ninth, and it looked like they were going to complete the deal. Brian Dozier, Jorge Polanco, and Max Kepler each had 2 hits for the Twins, and Polanco had 3 RBIs. Same 2 teams this evening, as the Twins will send Kyle Gibson to the mound with his 10-8 record. Pregame begins at 5:30, and first pitch at 6:10 on your home for the Minnesota Twins, K104. In the WNBA last night, the Minnesota Lynx built a huge halftime lead, and they cruised to a 110-87 win over Chicago at home. Very possibly the MVP of the WNBA, Sylvia Fowles, led the way with 27 points and 12 rebounds last night. Maya Moore adds 20 points and 9 assists. Lindsay Whalen still not back in the lineup for this team. It makes me wonder how good this team will be when she comes back in the playoffs. The Lynx now have the best record in the WNBA with 1 game remaining. They sit at 26-7, and they either need to win tomorrow or they need a Los Angeles loss to wrap up home court advantage throughout the playoffs. The Lynx are at home at 3 o'clock tomorrow to take on the Washington Mystics. The Minnesota Vikings started the process yesterday of cutting the roster down from 90 to 53. You remember in the old days they used to go from 90 to about 65 to 50. I mean, it was a long process. Just one big cutting process. Couple big, at least names that caught my eye this morning. A couple of years ago, the Vikings drafted the wide receiver out of Germany, Moritz Boehringer. He was cut yesterday. And T.J. Clemmings, an offensive lineman who started 30 games over the last 2 seasons, he was also cut yesterday. And there will be more cuts this weekend, I believe, as the rosters have to be to 53 by Monday. Of course, the big first weekend of college football, and the Gophers get a 17-7 win over Buffalo. Just not one of the wins that you're going to put down there as one of the great ones, but a win is a win is a win. 4 big games today along the way. Michigan, number 11, takes on number 17, Florida. That's at 2:30 this afternoon. Auburn takes on, need to read that. Louisville takes on Purdue. And then, of course, tonight, Alabama, Florida State, 1 versus 3. The ratings ought to be through the roof for that one. Very much looking forward to that. And, of course, another big game tomorrow as West Virginia takes on number 22. It's not Tennessee, and I didn't write it down, but some big games this weekend, and of course, very, very interested. Tomorrow, the Twins will wrap up their series with KC, and we'll have that game for you, of course, on K104 starting at 12:30, and the first pitch at 1:10. As we started last year, and I, of course, want to continue to do, we're going to talk about former Broncos that are taking part in sports after their Bronco career. So just going through this list, and this is a list that you'll be hearing over the next few weeks. And then, of course, as hockey season starts, we'll add in some more players. But Sydney Raboin, Taylor Hebner, Lexi Erickson, they're all taking part in cross country. Sydney Raboin out at UND. Taylor Hebner at Minnesota Duluth, and Lexi Erickson down at St. Kate's. There was a run yesterday, but the results first meet of the season really didn't get posted anywhere as Sydney Raboin was running for UND. Brady Wright, he's golfing for Crookston this year, and they've got their first fall meet next week on Monday and Tuesday as they are at Bemidji State. Brandon Bears, former Bronco football player, he's playing for Morris. They host Martin Luther College today. Maddie Filipiak, who had played a couple years at Rainy River, now at Bemidji State University. They had their first 2 matches yesterday. They downed the South Dakota School of Mines in 4 sets. Maddie had 8 kills, and then the Beavers, they lost to Moorhead State, or Minnesota State Moorhead, I should probably say, in 4 sets, and Maddie had 7 kills in that match. They've got a couple more matches today against Montana State, Billings, and Minot State. And, of course, the other 2 former Broncos I have, Isabella Edisted and Clara Palm, both playing volleyball. Golf. Read that. They are playing volleyball for Rainy River, and, of course, the Voyagers sitting at 2-3 on the season, and we'll hear more from head coach Mel Millerburn in our 3rd segment. It's time to take a break. It's time to get the Little Fort Big Falls Vikings football team in here. We'll be back with them. You're listening to Coach's Corner, live from Hardee's on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. Not the whole team, just parts of them. Head coach Dave Westerman. We also have Mason Borman, Carter Lagergren, and Matt Kennedy. And coach, a 28-0 loss last night to Carleton. Just talk a little bit briefly about the game from last night.
I thought we came out real tough to start the first quarter. We won the first quarter, I thought, except for the last couple plays. Gave up a couple big plays, and they punched it in. But really pinned them back a few times, had some drives stall out, had a tough time with exchanges to the quarterback. Otherwise, I think that first quarter is different. And if things go right there, it might be a different ball game.
Mason, give your quick thoughts of last night's game. If you can go back maybe to one play or maybe a turning point, a tipping point, maybe in that game for you guys.
Well, I think we played pretty well for the most part. They just got a couple lucky plays, a couple lucky deep passes that really hurt us. They passed a lot, and we hadn't worked on that a whole lot, so that's what really got us.
Did you guys have a scrimmage, Coach?
We did not have a scrimmage, and with Carleton being new to us, it's tough to get film on them as well. So kind of went into the game blind and just went with our normal game plan of, hey, it's 9-man football, they're going to run, and it was a completely different ball game. So we were a little unprepared for the pass. But I think we'll shake the cobwebs off that this week because I know North Home Kelliher is going to be passing the ball a little bit, and they were actually there to scout us last night too. So we're going to have to work on our pass coverage.
Mason mentioned about not really getting to work on the pass a lot. We were talking before we went on the air that you had 14 guys in uniform last night. Talk about the challenges not only of playing a game with 14 kids, but trying to practice with. You got a couple of kids that are ineligible, and you got a couple of kids that are You really don't even have 18 guys that go 9-on-9.
No, we're utilizing our managers for scout defense. They've stand with pennies on. I've been playing some cornerback on scout defense, so it makes it a challenge for the game, especially. I mean, we had kids going both ways, never came off the field, and you get into the third, fourth quarter, and I'm saying, you're standing up. Well, of course they're standing up. They're tired.
Carter, they got you listed as a tight end on the roster. Have you burned coach yet when he's playing cornerback? Have you had a chance to take him deep?
Not yet.
So he's calling the plays, and then he knows what's going on, so he already knows. Is that the way it works? He's out there, and he already knows what route you're running, so he can cheat to there? Is that the way it works? That's the way it goes. So, Matt Kennedy, your thoughts from last night's game on how things went for you and for the team as a whole?
I thought we did pretty good for the most part. Our defense, I thought, was pretty good, except for the couple plays I think they got pretty lucky on, and their lucky pass and their catches, But I think we have to work on our offense quite a bit. We had a lot of fumbles on our snaps, and it's just we got to work on opening up our gaps and getting free ground and running free.
You can take all kinds of snaps in practice. I was a lineman coach, and I was always in charge of the quarterbacks and the center exchanges. You can go out there and try to make it as live as you want during practice, Coach, but when it gets to a game, it's a totally different animal.
It's a different monster, and especially with not being able to go really live during practice. We haven't seen that speed yet. I wish I could blame it on the rain, but it's something that we've struggled with in practice too. It's something we're going to need to work on. The head official was letting me know the ball is dry, Coach, but it's just something that we need to work on. And,
of course, it always gets different whether you have a nose guard on the center or not. It all of a sudden, I said, it's a totally different animal. With the guys on this team, I looked at the roster, 3 seniors. Talk about who are the leaders in your mind, Coach.
I think the guys that we have sitting with us here this morning are definitely some of the leaders. We put them in place early this summer because we knew that they'd be putting in the work, and they're dedicated to the program, and they're willing to go the extra mile and get some other kids in the weight room and doing some stuff that they need to do in the off season.
Go ahead.
Another leader I think is our quarterback. He's been quarterback the last 2 seasons. Logan Maish, he really stepped up last night, and it was nice to see that.
Mason, where they got you playing? Where's Coach got you on offense and defense?
Offense, I've been playing running back, and defense, I've been linebacker.
It's the most fun position in the world, isn't it, linebacker?
Yeah.
There's nothing better. Carter, how about you? I mentioned offensive end. How about on defense?
On defense, I'm a defensive end.
Perfect. You can't beat that. And Matt, how about for you? Where's Coach got you situated?
Same as Mason.
Yeah?
Running back and linebacker.
What kind of offense are the Vikings running this year? You got two of the running backs here. You guys running straight T, double wing? What do you got?
We're running a T formation. We'll also go into the I. Might see some double wing coming out here as well.
You guys halfbacks in the wing? So who's the fullback?
Fullback right now is Jacob Pendergast.
Okay.
He's a freshman for us. He's starting fullback and starting middle linebacker. So I know that's a big task to take on as a young kid.
Absolutely. Guys, let's move on. Let's talk about next week's game. Mason, you guys got Kelly or Northholm coming next week. This is a team that you guys play pretty much every year. What do you remember about them from the past years, and what kind of game are you expecting on Friday? Another home game for the Vikings.
They got some pretty good players. I think it's going to be tough, but they're a pretty good team, and I think we can take care of it, though.
Coach mentioned they might go to the pass. What is you think they might try to blitz them a little bit more? Is it more just working on your coverages, dropping more guys? What kind of philosophy do you take?
I think for the most part you need to go straight just to see what's going to be there. And as the game progresses, you're going to see some spots where you can take some chances and throw some people in there. I know our linebackers are itching to blitz, but we need to get our reads down first. Getting penetration with the line is definitely going to be something that we need to get in Waldo's face a little bit.
You guys think you can maybe make him happy to do something to open up the blitz, Matt? You think you can make that happen?
I don't know, maybe make a couple more tackles when we get to blitz.
So you're really kind of Carter. He's putting the pressure on you. You're going to have to get some pressure off the edge, right?
Yeah.
What's the best part about playing defensive end? Because I know I got a chance to play some defensive end, and I know in the scheme here with International Falls, we always had our defensive ends kind of had to sacrifice themselves for the betterment of the team. Is it that kind of system with you guys, Carter, or does Coach kind of turn you loose?
You just got to rush the quarterback. It's a really fun position. I love it. It's just a good time.
When you play pass in 9-man versus 11-man, a little bit different in pass coverage because you still got 5 guys eligible to receive, but you still got to defend against the run. Do you play a lot of man mostly in your pass coverages, or do you try to mix some zone in? What do you do as a 9-man on defense to try to defend the pass?
Well, we've been going zone, and I think it's more just to simplify what's going on out there. If we start throwing motion into the equation, I think it's going to mess us up on defense if we start going man. I think our DBs did a really nice job last night. There were a couple plays where we got burned. They were in the right position, though. I actually called a timeout at one point. We missed an interception, and it bounced around on a 4th down and long, and it ended up in the hands of a Carleton Bulldog, and, there's nothing you can do on that play. The kid was in the right spot, just didn't make the play, and those things are going to happen. So I think we will get a lot better against the pass.
So we play zone in football. What do we play in basketball? Do we play man or zone? Which one do we play, guys?
Mostly man, I'd say.
Mostly man. So that's interesting. I find that just the comparison there, just the thought that crossed my mind when you said you played zone and you're basketball coach. So I had to go there. It's different.
In basketball, I'm definitely a man first kind of coach, but it's a different philosophy when it comes to football.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%. What game are we looking forward to, guys? Matt, he wants to give me the microphone. I've got somebody I want to talk about.
I want to get Lake of the Woods this year. They beat us last year in overtime at our homecoming game, so I'm really itching to play them.
Mason, you're shaking your head. You agree that's the number one opponent to get after? Yeah? How about Carter? How about for you?
I'd say Lake of the Woods, too.
Oh, okay, now you guys got to pick somebody different. Matt got to say Lake of the Woods. Now you guys got to pick somebody different.
Well, I'm hoping we're looking to next week.
Okay, fair
we
enough.
We want to focus on Kelly or Northholm, and then we'll worry about the Bears later.
Well, we can refocus on that. For Coach's Corner, we get to talk. Who else is out there, Mason? Who else on the schedule maybe is a team that's sitting out there that you really want to face?
I would say Big Fork. Really want to get them guys.
It is to me. It's one of the big games. How about for you, Carter? You got to pick somebody else. Number 3 on the list.
Right. Probably McGregor because we've never played them, and it's homecoming too. So
you get the Mercs. So yeah, we're going to have the game against Renshaw, and I would imagine just like Carleton and Renshaw are only about 5 miles apart. You don't know anything about the Wrens as well.
No, there's definitely some teams on the schedule this year that historically we haven't played. Carleton being one, Renshaw another, McGregor another one. Floodwood we got a little bit of a look at last year, but again, that's a team that I don't think we've played very often in the past. So with the restructuring, it's a lot different this year.
I was going to say, how do you feel about that restructuring? Because the traditionals, Ely, Northwoods.
Yeah, they're off the schedule now, and I guess we'll see how the season goes before I make a real decision on it. But I think they're doing it to cut down on travel time, and I don't think that cuts down on any travel time for us going to McGregor. So
no, that's not a short trip. I remember going down and watching a Little Fort Big Falls Vikings game against McGregor in about 2000, maybe 10 or 11. Got to go down there. A very interesting game. I remember it. Give me somebody who on this team, Mason, that a younger kid, maybe a first-year guy that's getting a start that maybe has kind of surprised you. And when I come down and watch you at the end of the month against Renshaw, I'm going to go, Mason was right. That kid is playing well.
I would say Damon Miles really stepped up for us last night, and he's never played before. It was his first year, and he did pretty good last night, I thought.
Carter, you got another guy that maybe a younger guy that's kind of stepped up and made something happen?
Dale Erickson stepped in at running back last night. He did really good.
It's something that in 9-man football we've been talking for years about Ely. Ely 6-0 over Onamia last night. Northwoods loses 37-8 to Cromwell. So is Section 7 9-man as wide open as maybe I think it is, Coach?
I think it is, especially with restructuring, getting some different blood on your regular season schedule. It'll be interesting to see once section playoffs start.
I have one more question for you, and then I'm going to let you guys go. Last year there were 7 teams in the section. They left one team out to give the first 2 teams the bye. Now this year, I think I saw that there are 8 teams in the section. Are they giving the top 2 teams a bye, or are they letting all 8 teams play?
I'm thinking that they're going to take that 8th team out again. So I think
so 7 and 8 will be sitting out, and 1 and 2 will get the bye again.
That's my understanding at this point.
Do you like that? I think we talked about this.
I think that's the right way to go. When it came through for a vote for the coaches, that's what I went for. I think playoffs should be earned, not given. And I think if an 8 is going to beat a 1, they probably would have been a higher seed earlier on in the season. I know there's things that can come up during your regular season where maybe some injuries and you have some games that don't really show your true colors. But I think for the most part, that regular season really sets what it should be.
Coach Dave Westerman, Mason Borman, Carter Lagergren, and Matt Kennedy. Guys, thanks for coming up. I appreciate you guys making a long trip. We'll see you in a few weeks, and I'm excited to come down and watch you guys finally get a good chance, guys, watch you guys play some football.
Thanks for having us, Tim.
We'll take a break, and we'll come back with more here from Coach's Corner. You are listening live on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. Joined by head coach of the Rainy River Community College Voyagers volleyball team, Mel Milliburn. Year 29. Does it seem possible?
It's gone fast.
When I read it on the preview from the MAC NCAC website, and I'm like, this will be my 24th year here, so I know it's gone fast. So I'm sure it's gone fast for you as well. And you played 5 matches so far. Let's go back to last weekend. Let's talk about what happened in Fergus Falls. A couple of wins on Friday, a couple of losses on Saturday.
Yeah.
What'd you see in your team?
Well, we played some tough teams, so I was real pleased walking out of there 2-2. Kind of the highlight was we beat Itasca in 5, so that was a big win for us. But it's a brand new team, 3 sophomores returning, but 7 new freshmen, so it was a good learning experience for us. But we did a lot of good things, hit the ball pretty well. I'm just excited to have a libero again this year, and that is Allison Sater from Grigla. She did a nice job, and just kind of our passing. Clara passed really well, so that was nice to see. And we just kind of got it together. Saturday, Fergus and Bismarck are both very good, so we hung in there with them, but they're good teams.
Let's talk about Wednesday night's match against Mesabi Range down there. Boy, I was getting updates on the scores, and every one of them was tight right down to the bitter end. It has to be rewarding that you were in each of the sets and kept it close, but it has to be disappointing that you dropped it in 4 sets.
Yeah, boy. Well, first of all, Sandy didn't play. Sandy Thompson is our number 1 hitter, and she has a knee injury, so she did not dress. But boy, we really stepped it up, and the rest of the kids played really well. And yeah, every set was within 2 points. So, and I tell you, the sets we lost, we just didn't finish. For example, in set 1, I believe we had 22, and we missed 3 serves after that.
Wow.
So, I mean, just, mistakes like that you just can't make at crucial times.
Is that possibly due pressure, young
Oh, yeah,
kids,
yeah.
The first
Yeah.
time playing college volleyball got
Yeah.
inside the head a little bit?
Yeah, no, I think they were nervous, and I think, they just, at that point, you just got to get the ball across. And that happened in a couple sets that we missed serves right at the end.
And 3 of the 4 sets actually go to extra points, go past 25. So are the two teams that evenly matched?
Yeah, we were really evenly matched, but once we put Sandy back in there, I feel that we'd probably have the advantage then.
Talk about why she's such a crucial key to this team, Sandy Thompson.
Well, she's just all around. Like I said, I need to find somebody to replace her, but that's very difficult because she passes, she digs, she hits, she blocks, she serves, so she really is an all-around player. So when you lose that out of your lineup, it's tough to replace that. But, the other kids stepped up, and I was really, really happy about that.
Talk about the other 2 sophomores that you got coming back, what they bring to the team and how they played from last year's team and how that's going to translate to this year's team.
Well, they got a lot of experience last year because we only had 8 people, so they played all the time. Elle Wilform is just a force in the middle. She's an intimidating middle, and she does a nice job. She needs to hit a little bit more. She's gotten kind of into a tipping mode. And they figured that out, so she's got to get off the net more and get up and swing.
We talked about this last year. As soon as you said that, we talked about this with Maddie Filipiak,
Yeah.
and we talked about how that college game and how all of a sudden you need to be aggressive. And I think Maddie found out that swinging away and still using the tip, but swinging away,
Right.
even if you do get hit or blocked along the way, at least you're still probably making something positive happen.
Right, and the other team doesn't know what you're going to do. I think last night, they knew Elle was probably going to tip, and they were ready for that. Tiana Terry has been just a really nice surprise, too. She plays right side, and, she doesn't get set to a lot, but when she does, she seems to always do something with it. She had a lot of kills on Wednesday night, and she's just a real spirited, excited player. So it's nice to have somebody like that out on the court.
Let's talk about your freshmen, 7 of them on the team. Talk about who's really had to step up early because obviously you got to play 6 at a time. So
Right.
and if Sandy's out, who have you been kind of relying on out of the younger girls, women, to take care of business?
Well, we have a new setter, Carly Phillips, and she's from Camrose, Alberta. So she's a long ways from home, and she's really stepped up and does a nice job. She's got nice hands and real good court sense. She's kind of one of those tricky little setters that'll shoot the ball to the back court, and she scored quite a bit last night on that, so that's always fun. Clara Palm is another all-around player. She just kind of does whatever I tell her to do with a smile, and has done a really, really good job. Letitia Monroe is from Westgate High School over in Thunder Bay, and she's 5'11", and working with her in the front row. Just needs to get a little bit more aggressive. She's a very good blocker, though. Chelsea Cabate is our Fort Francis girl, and she played on real good teams over there for the Muskies. And right now she's hitting outside and playing left back and has done a really good job. I'm really happy with her progress, too. I mentioned Allison Sater from Grigla. She is our libero and has done a good job, just not just playing defense, but she's a good passer also. Isabella Edisted plays middle for us also, opposite of Elle, and she's getting better every day. Needs a little bit more confidence, a little bit more work, but had a real nice block last night, and just is just fun to have on the court too. She's exciting.
Well, that's a big thing for a freshman. You got to go in there and get a big play, and sometimes that's what gets you over the hump.
Yep. And then our last freshman is Kayla Klofstad, and she's from Silver Bay, and she can pass, play back row, and she can hit too. So right now I've got her playing back row for Tiana, and she's doing a great job.
Talk about the Northern Division. Who's kind of going to be the forefront of the Northern Division, and where do you guys fit into the mix?
Well, right now I'm hearing that Central Lakes and Northland are probably numbers 1 and 2, and then after that I'd say it's a toss-up if we can get Sandy back.
Sure.
Right now I guess Itasca lost to Northland in 3 on Wednesdays, so that kind of puts us right up there. So. The next couple of weeks, we have a lot of matches.
Let's talk a little bit more about Sandy. We mentioned the injury. You just came from the doctor as we taped this interview. What did we find out? Is it kind of a wait and see type of thing to see where it's at?
Probably patella a little bit out of track, so just trying to get the swelling down a little bit on that, and probably put her in one of those braces, to hold the patella in place. So I have to say this, my daughter Brooke, she did that, and it's almost the exact same injury. So, I've dealt with that for many years, but the brace really helped though when you can keep that patella in place. So, we'll give her a week off, and hopefully it'll be better.
Yeah, it's something where you'd rather have her towards the end of this. You don't want to wait too long because only the top 4 make it into the playoffs. But you've got to find a way to make it healthy and make her back on as part of the team. Who else in the Northern Division? You talked about who else is in that mix. I mean, there's 7 or 8 teams in the Northern Division. So after Northland and Central Lakes, who's in there that with the loss to Mesabi Range last night, that puts you one step maybe behind them. But talk about who else maybe you really got to compete with. Is it Hibbing, Itasca, Vermilion?
And Hibbing has a brand new coach, Sarah Matuzak from Cherry, went over there. And, she got some good high school players from down in that area, so they're going to be right in the mix also, as is Itasca always. So we know they'll be tough. That's why we were real excited to beat them in 5. Vermilion and Fond du Lac, they're rebuilding, and they both got teams, so we're all happy about that. And you can never underestimate anybody. So we host Fond du Lac next Wednesday. So we're hoping we get a lot of fans to come out and watch us play. That's here at the college at 6:30.
Yeah, and the big thing, I think the time everybody needs to understand, 6:30 used to the 7 o'clock for the Bronco games and the Viking games. So 6:30 start time for that. And of course they can always go to the RainyRiver.edu site to find the schedule and keep up to date on what's going on.
Absolutely.
Mel, thanks for the time. Best of luck for the 2017 season.
Thank you.
We'll take a break and we'll come back with more Coach's Corner. You're listening on K104 and online at RJ Broadcasting.
Back to Hardy's for our final segment here of Coach's Corner on this first Saturday of September. Again, thanks to my guests from the Little Fork Big Falls Vikings football team, Dave Westerman, Mason Borman, Matt Kennedy, and Carter Lagergren, and of course to Mel Millerbrand for taping that interview a little earlier this week. She wanted to make sure she had the weekend off. I completely understand having Labor Day weekend off. It is the way to go. Let's do the week that was, and let's start off with Rainy River Community College's volleyball team. They went 2-2 last weekend. On Saturday, they lost to Bismarck State in 3 sets, and also to Fergus Falls in 3 sets. In the previous match on Friday night against Itasca, Sandy Thompson, who we mentioned a lot during that interview, she had 15 kills and 14 digs. That's just a great day for her. Allison Satre, the libero, she had 14 digs. Carly Phillips, the setter from Alberta, she had 30 assists. I'll go along with 10 digs. Also last Saturday, coverage heard on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. Of course, the International Falls Bass Championship took place last weekend, and Jeff Gustafson and Scott Dingwall, wow, what a weekend they had. 2 bags of over 21 pounds. Nobody's ever done that before, not even once before in the International Falls Bass Championship. They set the all-time record for 2 days of 43 pounds even, and they take home the $10,000. Second place to Jake Rule and Charlie Leduc. They also broke the previous record, but unfortunately for them, ran into an absolute buzzsaw of fishermen in Gustafson and Dingwall, and then John Belaski and Eric Olson. They end up taking third, so a couple of boats, local boats, doing very, very well in the International Falls Bass Championship. No local action on Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. On Wednesday, the Bronco volleyball team got their home part of the season started, and they took down Northwoods in 4 sets, 25-21, 15-25, 25-16, and 25-22. Bianca Carlson, 20 set assists to go along with 12 digs. Jenna Sullivan, 6 digs, 7 kills, 8 blocks. She was absolutely on fire on Wednesday night. Tia Goulet had 17 digs out of the back row. Also on Wednesday, Rainy River Community College volleyball team dropped a 4-set decision on the road at Masabi Range. Set scores were 27-25, 29-31, 25-22, and 26-24. On Thursday, the International Falls Bronco girls swimming and diving team started their season at home against Hibbing. Final team score was 113-73. Now, everybody that was talking to me saying, "Well, we lost a whole bunch of girls and everything else, and how good Hibbing is and everything else," and pretty soon it was the same score as last season, and I thought our girls performed very, very well. I was very, very impressed. Not a lot of girls on the team, but when they were out there, they swam very, very well. Lindsay Lucy was a double winner. She won the 200 individual medley. It was maybe the most exciting swimming race I think I've watched in my time. She was behind going into the final 25 yards, and she absolutely turned on the jets and came up with the win. And then she won the 500 free. It was very, very exciting. Haven Pellin, she took second in the 200 free. Amelia Stewart, second in the 50 free and the 100 free. Macy Marcotte took second in the 100 backstroke. Hibbing did set 3 pool records in the meet on Thursday. One in the 200 medley relay, one in the 100 butterfly, and one in the 100 backstroke. Also on Thursday, the Bronco volleyball team, they improved to 3-0 on the season, back-to-back home contest. They get a 3-0 sweep of Mountain Iron Buell. Scores of 25-19, 25-22, and 25-21. Jenna Sullivan, another big night, 8 kills, 3 blocks, 2 ace serves. Emma Gilbert adds in 6 kills, 3 blocks, and 2 ace serves. Bailey Millette had 7 kills, and Tia Goulet had 28 kills out of the back row. The Little Fork Big Falls Vikings volleyball team, even their season record at 1-1 with a 3-0 sweep of Northland on Thursday night. They won by scores of 25-14, 25-15, and 25-12. Emily Franz, a huge night as she had 14 kills. Hannah Clark had 6 ace serves, and Danica Clemenson had 14 set assists and 6 ace serves. Of course, last night the International Falls Broncos were in action. Game heard on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. They fall behind 33-0 after 3 quarters to Proctor. Score 22 points in the fourth quarter on touchdowns by Rasmussen, Wilson, and Armando Barrios to close the gap to 33-22. The LBF Vikings football team, they got their season started last night at home against Carleton. They lose by a final of 28-0. The Broncos will be at home against Aiken next Friday. The Vikings will be at home against Kelliher North Home. What's going on today locally? Well, there's no sports going on. It is Labor Day weekend, and so a lot of the teams obviously have the weekend off. So nothing tomorrow, nothing on Monday either. Tuesday, of course, is the first day of school, and the volleyball teams take to the floor, both of them at home. The Broncos will be at home against Masabi East, and we'll have the Viking game at home against Ely on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com. Pre-game to start right around 6:45, and then the opening serve right at around 7 o'clock. On Wednesday, the Rainy River volleyball team has their first home match of the year as they take on Fond du Lac at 6:30. On Thursday, busy day, the girls swimming and diving team, they're on the road at Eveleth Gilbert for a 4:30 meet. The Little Fork Big Falls Vikings volleyball team, they go on the road to take on Big Fork, and the cross-country teams from the Falls, they have their first meet as they travel to Roseau for a 4 o'clock meet. On Friday, the Broncos, as I mentioned, at home next Friday against Aiken, and the Vikings at home at John Thompson Field against Kelliher North Home next Friday. Next Saturday, the International Falls Bronco volleyball team, they're down in Greenway for a big tournament. I'm sure they're going to get 4 matches in that day. The best of 3 sets down there. Rainy River volleyball is at Coon Rapids for a couple of matches next weekend, and the Rainy River baseball team will have their alumni game at home, I believe, at 1 o'clock. o'clock. I did not write it down. It's either 1 or 2 o'clock, and that game to be at Sheila Field. That's going to wrap it up for this week for Coach's Corner. Thanks to Chad back at the station for pushing all the buttons. Thanks to everybody here at Hardee's that take care of our guests, especially to Dave and all his sponsorship. Thanks to the rest of our sponsors, but most of all, thank you for listening to Coach's Corner, live from Hardee's on K104 and online at rjbroadcasting.com.